Mr. Secretary General, Madam Director General, Mr. High Representative, Madam Administrator, esteemed ministers, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly honored to welcome you to the General Assembly's thematic debate on culture and development, which we have organized in close partnership with UNESCO. For many years, they have stood at the forefront of UN's efforts to promote culture as both an enabler and driver of development. I believe their current endeavors are of paramount importance for the conceiving and eventual carrying out of the post-2015 agenda. I'm truly grateful for Director General Bokova's engagement and dedication in this regard. Allow me to extend a very special recognition to my predecessor as President of the General Assembly, my good friend Nasser Abdulaziz Al-Nasser. In his capacity as High Representative of the Alliance of Civilizations, he has worked incessantly to incorporate culture into the UN's development policies and strategies, as called for in Resolution 66/208, which was adopted during his presidency. I would also like to express my appreciation to UNDP Administrator Helen Clark for her participation in today's debate. I believe we will greatly benefit from her wealth of knowledge and experience. Last but not least, permit me to emphasize Secretary General's leadership in advancing the post-2015 agenda, including its cultural component. Excellencies, our increasingly globalized and interdependent world is beset by one of the most profound, all-encompassing periods of transformation ever to occur in peacetime. We are in the midst of an unprecedented pivot towards a more democratized system of international relations in which countries aspire to greater empowerment and freedom of action. This calls for a grand reorganization of human affairs, in which importance of how cultures and civilizations communicate and intertwine will grow stronger over years. Last June, world leaders came together in Rio de Janeiro to adopt the historic Future We Want document. For the first time in history, member states agreed to comprehensively integrate the three dimensions of sustainable development, namely economic, social, and environmental, into a single, fully coherent whole. In Rio, the General Assembly received additional mandates. In essence, it was given the strategic task of crafting a new, ambitious, universal framework that will define much of the UN's work for decades to come. The General Assembly has only under 1,000 days to carry out these assignments. They include conceiving and adopting the SDGs, designing options for financing them, and creating a workable intergovernmental arrangement for monitoring their implementation. The Rio conclusions also emphasize the importance of promoting the world's diversity, acknowledging that people are at the center of sustainable development, to which all cultures and civilizations should contribute. It also underscored the imperative of respecting different national circumstances and moving towards a common endpoint. On this basis, the UN System Task Team, convened by the Secretary General, has concluded that all communities and individuals must be able to practice their own culture and enjoy that of others, free from fear. This will include, inter alia, safeguarding cultural and natural heritage, fostering cultural institutions, strengthening cultural and creative institutions, and promoting cultural tourism. Notwithstanding these important points of reference, I believe that the significance of the nexus between culture and development for the post-2015 agenda is not yet fully grasped. I hope our discussions today will contribute to reassessment of its meaning to our generational task. Excellencies, I am afraid that we're not moving forward with adequate dynamism that is required if we are to meet the envisaged deadlines. I once again extend an appeal for urgency and respectfully call on member states to make the post-2015 agenda their utmost priority. Its full implementation, in my view, may help draw the world cultures closer together, enabling them to grow increasingly secure with each other. I personally believe that cultural interaction is first and foremost about dialogue. The human capacity to communicate, to share thoughts and convictions in an orderly and meaningful way, is what opens the possibility for diverse communities to achieve concord on the basis of mutual respect. This is a basic tenet of not only the post-2015 agenda, but the UN Charter itself. It has been actively championed by UNESCO throughout its existence, starting with its first Director General, Sir Julian Sorrell Huxley. Upon being asked to define the parameters of progress, he stated that fulfilling humanity's potential meant directing its cultural diversity away from competitive discord to harmonious symphony. I can personally think of few better ways to define our assignments, to produce a harmonious symphony of mankind through the achievement of a universal transition to sustainability. Excellencies, the basis of the world culture is the Latin cultura. Originally, it was an agricultural term used to describe the cultivation of the soil and the enjoyment of what it produced. It thus signified taking care of the earth by improving it through human ingenuity and responsible stewardship. Today, it chiefly refers to the sum of communities' intellectual and artistic achievements, a symbolic bridge that maintains continuity between the past, present, and the future. A great 20th century philosopher defined culture as improving and refining our natural faculties, enabling us to experience more fully the endowments conceived by the human mind. He also reminded us that our ambition to constantly strive for material prosperity must be informed by greater respect for traditions, both our own and everyone else's. Without this, we run the danger of not only neglecting our roots, but denigrating those of others. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us and who helped make our cultures what they are today. Those famous or anonymous heroes of yesterday deserve our profound respect. They attach personality to the building blocks with which we built our most cherished edifices, the alphabets we used to write our journals, and the songs we sang of our dreams and sacrifices. Intercultural dialogue conducted within the framework of the post-2015 agenda represents, in my view, the surest way to guard against the erasing hand of uniformity, which some fear may be a consequence of globalization. Fully embracing the potential of this nexus will also help promote a greater sense of indivisibility and mutual belonging, a feeling that no community or nation can fulfill its potential until this is accompanied by the advancement of the entire mankind. In the discussions that have taken place over the past few months, we have so far been unable to reach consensus on how to build on the agreed foundations of sustainable development. The gap between means and ends has yet to be bridged, in my view, partly because the cultural component has largely been absent from our deliberations. I believe that creating solid and durable bridges between humanity's cultures may help overcome many of the differences which manifestly stand in the way of moving decisively forward as one diverse yet unified family of nations in the quest to achieve universal sustainability. The 1961 Nobel laureate in literature, Ivo Andrić, wrote that nothing that man erected or built in his urge for living was more valuable than bridges. For him, they facilitated togetherness, and like nothing else, they attach and bind peoples, cultures, and nations. I'd like to conclude my remarks of today with a passage for his magnum opus, The Bridge on the Drina. Belonging to everyone and being equal for everyone, useful, always built with a sense of purpose, on the spot where most human needs are crossing. Bridges do not serve for anything secret and bad. What we aim for will be granted its full meaning on the other side. For bridges represent the eternal, unsatisfied human desire to link, to reconcile, and join all that springs up before our spirit and our eyes, so that there should be no division, no confrontation, and no parting. May this thematic debate lead to new bridges being built, and so foster a better understanding between nations on the critical issues we must come together to resolve for the benefit of all mankind. I thank you very much for your attention.